The longer you wait to change, to do something different, to take matters into your own hands, to take control, the worse it will be for you. Before we get into today's questions, I wanted to share something that I feel will be highly relevant to everybody, no matter where you are in your business, just around sort of the economic climate, the macroeconomic climate of what's going on. Some of you may have heard that on Friday this past week, a bank literally got shut down in Silicon Valley, and it's sending quite a bit of shockwaves through just everything right now. And there's actually been 3 banks now that have been shut down in the last week. The Silicon Valley Bank was the second largest bank to ever be shut down in U.S. history, which is obviously a pretty big deal. They're number 16 in largest banks in the United States. And they made some bad, poor decisions with their cash. And, I'm not going to get into all the details of that. But ultimately, it is really starting to put a lot of pressure on a market crash, things being interconnected, and that is going to create a lot of fear in the masses. And the masses are most of our target audiences. You know what I mean? So there's a direct correlation between being up to speed on what's going on, but then more importantly, being able to take the news, current events, the fear, the doom and gloom, some of the stuff that people are going to watch on news or hear on their social media or whatever, and being able to create a filter between the perception that most people are going to think about and see, and then how you create a filter, or in other words, a bridge back to how you can serve and help them. And if you're not able to communicate in a way where you're meeting them where they're at, you will sound tone deaf to sort of the challenges that people are facing if you're not personally facing them yourself either. And you're going to miss the mark with what you're essentially offering people to solve their pain. Does that make sense for everybody? So what we need to do is we need to take the noise, we need to put it through a filter and be able to regurgitate that back to people following you, your ads, your content, everybody else. So we meet them where they're at. They can understand that we hear them, we know what they're experiencing, we know what they're going through, and here's the reasons why they can make this transition and make this jump. And I'm going to give you a few examples of what I mean. On last call, we talked a little bit about, specifically about creating content that kills objections of your audience and doing it in a natural way where they're watching your stuff. They might have a thought like, yeah, I really like what you're doing. And I kind of looked into it secretly behind, you maybe posted a picture of your products or something like that on your social media, and people saw the little logo in the corner and they're snooping around, and they're not going to message you. They're not going to ask you any questions, but they went and did their own research, right? And they kind of see what you're doing. They're trying to put one and one together and figure it all out. Maybe it's not quite clear, but then they go on to the website and they find the price of the products, and it scares them off, spooks them off. Oh my gosh, that's expensive. Or I can't afford that. I don't even make that in a month. Or if I tried to put that on my credit card, my spouse would murder me. And they jump to all these conclusions about why they can't and why it won't work and why it's not for them. And you don't even know that any of this is happening. And this is a big reason why I personally am a fan of not sharing your products like straight away with all the logos and all the on your stories and your posts, because it ends up making you in one way irrelevant to your audience from communicating with you. Ultimately, what we're trying to really do is pique curiosity and interest, make them want to ask you so badly that they must. They must ask you a question because it's driving them crazy that they don't know what you're doing. They don't know what your business is. They don't know how you're spending so much time with your family. They don't know how you get to go to the gym or the spa in the middle of your workday. And they don't understand. It doesn't add up. How can you live this life that is so opposite and so different to my life and the people that I know? So can you see that when you're full-time, or even if you're part-time but you're flexible with your work schedule, like your full-time job, how what we want to do is engineer a lifestyle that breaks people's brains. Quite literally. They're just like, how the fuck are you there golfing at Tuesday at 11 o'clock when everybody's at their job from 9 to 5? For example, not everybody, but that's more popular, more common than it isn't. So intentionally doing the opposite of the masses will generate curiosity and potentially lead to DMs, questions, comments. And then when you have a call to action post, you can leverage some of those things in your content and use it like bullet points. And then say like, I'm sure you've seen me being able to go to the park in the middle of the week, doing this, doing that, which is basically just confirming what you were already sharing prior. So you're just reconfirming it. They've already seen it. They've already been watching. You've been able to see me do this, 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 and this, and this, and you're probably wondering how. Well, comment below, and I'm going to give you my 10-minute web class, VSL, whatever it is that you're doing, guide, PDF, download, one-on-one phone call. I can explain it to you in my DMs. You can have something like ManyChats set up so there's a little bit of pre-qualifying in an automated way. There's so many ways of doing it, and none of them are technically right or wrong. It's just more so to do with what is a streamlined process that resonates with you that you want to do, and then you can continue to feed that machine, right? But if you're very open about it and you're kind of talking about it, it could be a good thing. Some people are like, I just feel really proud and I love my company and I love the products and I just want to talk about them openly. That's totally cool, but there's going to be a really large percentage of your followers and stuff who may have been interested at one point from something you shared, did their own research, found the wrong shit. They're too embarrassed to talk to you about it or to tell you about it. And you literally don't even know that they were a lead and then now they're no longer a lead. And all that should happen without you knowing. So the different people have a different preference around what they feel is better. But I like more of the mystery personally. That's more my style. I wasn't like that when I first got started. I was the guy who was a 24/7 infomercial about my products and opportunity, and I gave zero fucks. I was like, this is what it is. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. If you want some of this, come get some. If you don't, whatever, it's fine. Like I was all in that sense. But then over the years, I've learned like, that's not necessarily the best for me. Because people aren't going onto social media typically to be sold in that way, right? There's a special type of human who stays up all night and watches infomercials, and it's not usually the same person who goes on their phone and scrolls during the day. It's like different personality. So back to the point around bridging the gap between the content that you're sharing and the macroeconomic, I guess, energetic place that society is at. As soon as you get the doom and gloom and the recession talks and the market crashing and the banks closing and this kind of conversation, and that's the mainstream news stuff, you have to understand that most people's energy is going to be resonating with that. Even though they might not like it or they might not watch the news or whatever, they're still feeling that overall energy of contraction. And contraction is a form of the economy. So it expands during a bull run and then it contracts during a bear market or recession or possibly worse. A lot of people are predicting that the next few years are going to be worse than people are expecting or ready for. Now, on the flip side, worse is relative. If you are in a normal, regular job, in working for a company that has not managed their finances very effectively, or they got too much debt, or they don't have large enough profit margins, then yes, their workforce, their employees will start to get trimmed down. There will be layoffs. We've been seeing that a lot with some of the bigger tech companies already, thousands of layoffs over here, thousands of layoffs over there. That's because they're basically contracting their overall expenses, which means salaries and people that are just showing up, they're gone, done, and then those people have to go look for work. But simultaneously, what we do with home-based businesses, online businesses, direct sales, and whatever, is that we are the life raft. We are the solution where when people don't know where to turn, they turn to us. They turn to this industry. Sometimes people, when they feel like they're too cool for network marketing, too cool for direct sales, oh, I never do one of those scammy pyramid things, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, so your job with all the benefits and the cushions and all that, they basically kick you to the curb, and all of a sudden this thing that you're too cool for, all of a sudden is kind of one of your only best options. And it's cool, no hard feelings, come get started and let's make some money, let's help some people and all that. So it's important, for one, for your attitude to come from a place of compassion during this time that we're in and the time we're going into soon, and it's going to be a gradual process over the next few years, is don't let your ego get the best of you. Don't be rude to people. Don't kind of tell them to fuck off or something like that. If something happened a year or two ago, it's like, this is our opportunity to go, you know what? I get it. It's fine. And you know what? Despite the past, let's let that go. I'm still here to help you. And that gives all of our profession more credibility, because we're coming from a place of love, when we could have been the person that's like, yeah, too bad, good luck, figure it out. And we could come from that place too. So keep that in mind, is if someone comes back with their tail between their legs and they're a little bit, messed up, said some things I shouldn't have said, which happens, then lovingly be accepting, bring them back in and say, it's okay. Let's work together, and I'm going to help you out of this situation. And in the future, just don't talk shit about me or what I do. So that's one thing. The next thing that we got to remember is employees that are getting let go, they also have employee mindsets. And employee mindsets are going to be afraid of investing in a high ticket product, for example. So you're going to run into the objection of, I can't afford it, or I can't get approved on a loan, or these kinds of things will come up. Not for everyone, but it will come up more and more. So one of the things we need to do is, in our content strategy publicly, or even in our email marketing follow-up, in our automated emails, when someone subscribes to our email list, we start sending them emails regularly. You can start to incorporate some of these types of mindset shifts that they need to make to see things from a new perspective. And the most powerful way for someone to receive this is for you to do comparison type of content. And here's what I mean by comparison type of content. You need to first describe how they think now, okay, before you help them shift to how they can start to think moving forward. If you only focus on how they should start thinking moving forward, there will be a disconnect. They won't get it. There won't be that path of like, okay, yeah, that sounds nice in theory, but I know I can't afford it. And so they're still stuck in the same thinking. So think about all the objections, think about all the mindset shifts that would be valuable to your audience, and start making a list of now versus where you should be, or where you could transform into. And one of those is particularly to do with something such as price versus cost. Now, the average person, employee mindset, is so focused on the price that they miss the value that is associated with the cost. And I used to do this all the time when I was doing face-to-face presentations, and someone would say, well, how much is the cost? What's the price of the products, for example? They'd always say, what's the price? And before I would answer them, I would make sure to ask them the question, well, are you more concerned with the price, or are you more concerned with the cost? And most people in that situation don't know what to say. They don't know the distinction or the difference between the two. And that puts you in a powerful position as an expert of what you're doing and what you're selling, because you do know the answer to the question. And if you don't know, I'm about to tell you, so don't get all worried and stuff like you don't belong here. You do. I'm going to teach you right now. So price is what you pay once, and cost is what you pay over the lifetime of the product. Does that make sense for everybody? So when we look at a high ticket product, the price is always going to be higher and intimidating in that moment. But when we look at the cost, which is the longevity of that particular product over time, and then we take the maximum, let's say, high ticket product, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years of function and value in your home. And we divide the price by the 25 years of the cost, all of a sudden, we reduce it down to such a small number that the price is like way better than they thought. They're like, oh, I'm just paying for it up front, but I'm going to get this long-term value over the long run. And the classic example of this is, like lower middle class thinking is they want cheap, they want deals, they want bargains, that's the mentality, right? Always saving a buck, pinching a penny, those kinds of things. It's how a lot of us were raised. It's the families we grew up in. And it's quite normal thinking even now to this day across the masses. But here's the difference of that. If you buy a pair of shoes, okay, that are really cheap, how long does it take for the shoes to break? The shoelaces bust off. There's a hole in the toe. The sole starts to like come off on the back because you like kicked a curb or some shit. The shoe literally falls apart on you after wear and tear of maybe like a year. Not really that long. And then it's this constant thing of replacing them with other cheap shoes. I've bought in designer shoes that are handmade with like leather, and I've had them for 8 years, and they still look like the day I bought them, except they're more comfortable because my feet kind of broke in the leather a little bit, and it's more comfortable. I could literally keep those shoes for the rest of my life, and in some cases, they become more valuable because they're like limited edition, blah, blah, blah. But that's not even the point. I'm not thinking about selling them. It's just a point of like quality craftsmanship and materials and all the rest of that. So over the course of 10 years, I'll have one pair of shoes, while someone else will buy a new pair of cheap shoes every year. And maybe in year 11, they've spent more money on their 11 pairs of shoes than I spent on my one pair of shoes. And they're even better quality, more comfortable, all the things. I paid for it up front, and I have the quality, the cost, lasts me a lifetime, potentially, especially once you stop growing and your feet, the size of your feet don't change and shit like that, right? It's like even better economically.
What's up, everyone? Mark your calendars because Monday, November 25th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is the day you've been waiting for. It's the Diamond Rush Freedom Friday Unlocked, and I'm dropping 5 transformational offers designed to crush self-doubt and catapult your business into 2025 like never before. We're talking proven strategies for quick wins, tools to streamline your success, and ways to reignite your purpose. These offers are exclusive, affordable, and available for just 5 days. And here's the kicker: bonuses and gifts with purchase that are absolute game changers. Don't miss your shot to turn surviving into thriving next quarter. Get on our first to know email list by clicking the link down in the show notes. Then, keep an eye on your inbox for all the juicy details. The Diamond Rush is coming. All right, let's dive back into the episode.
Back to our products is that people can get really intimidated by that. So in your content strategy, rather than talking about the price directly, you start doing these comparisons like I just said to you. You could compare luxury goods versus cheap products. You could compare whatever you want, whatever resonates with you, but actually educating your audience on what's the difference between price versus cost and why you should focus on cost more than price. And so what ends up happening is they go, oh, I never thought about it like that. See what I mean? And so you're dripping on them the mindset shifts before you're doing the call to action post that those objections and limiting beliefs around things are going to come up anyway. So that's one example. Another example is talking about risk, right? How many people are intimidated and afraid of taking a risk because what if I don't make money? What if this? What if that? And then we have the opportunity to be able to communicate something, for example, where like, is the risk doing it or is the risk not doing it? Once again, it's a mindset shift. Which one is riskier? The risk of doing it or the risk of not doing it? Now, in the case of what's happening with the economy right now, there's different mindsets around people's approach to the situation. Some people are thinking like, oh, it won't affect me. Like, I know that bank over there got shut down, but my bank is good. I know those people over there got laid off, but my job's good. So a lot of people have that type of mentality of they're not planning, they're not preparing, they're not thinking about contingency plans. They're not thinking worst case scenario. They're not thinking what if this, what if that. And so they're very much just letting life happen to them. Oh, that's happening there. Oh, that's happening there. But until it happens to them directly, where their boss or their company or whoever is like, yeah, your job is done. Like, don't come back on Monday. That's when it punches you right in the mouth and you go, wait a second, what? What do you mean don't come back Monday? I got bills to pay. I got mouths to feed. I got this and that. It's like, we're done here, right? Company's contracting. We laid off X of people. You're on the list. You're gone. Pretty scary shit when it actually happens to you, even though if you had like months and months and months of warnings, which everybody has had since basically COVID started 3 years ago, there's been obvious fucking signs everywhere if you open your eyes and looked that something was coming. And it was slow and gradual and different things started to happen. And then it looked like it was okay and it looked like it was better. And then it was worse and a little bit better, worse. But like we're on a downtrend right now. And the reality check of people is that this is going to be a thing for the next few years. This is not going away. It's not a short-term thing. And so the longer you wait to change, to do something different, to take matters into your own hands, to take control, the worse it will be for you. And I'm not saying this necessarily to you. I'm saying it for you to say to your audience, right? Like you're already taking action. You're already being proactive. You're already on this journey and this path, which is incredible. So I'm not necessarily saying it to you, but if the shoe fits, I mean, put it on. Some of you might be like, oh shit, this does apply to me. So that's fine. But we're really talking about how to communicate it to your audience and not telling them what to do. This is the key. Not telling them they should start a business to protect them, to protect the downside and the risk and stuff like that, because people don't like to be told what to do and they don't like to feel like they're being sold. They need to think that it's their own best idea. So you present them these little tiny tips, these little nuggets of information that makes them pause and go, huh, that's a great point. You know what? I should probably start a side hustle. It's like, well, no shit, that's what I was telling you. I was just telling you in a way that wasn't as direct, okay? So this is a way for us to gently guide people from one side of the fence over to the other side of the fence and then make you and your opportunity the obvious choice that they can opt into the web class or whatever the case is. So remember, the idea behind this is meet them where they're at, address their fears, address their stress, and really put yourself in that person's shoes. Like, okay, all these things are on the headlines, the news, the doom and gloom, this and that. You're working at whatever your avatar's primary job income might be. It's like, what are these people thinking right now? What are their concerns? What are they worried about? What are they trying to basically put their head in the sand and pretend it's not happening? Meet them there, relate with them, be compassionate to their situation. Be like, I get it. Look, that's tough. This is a hard time for everybody. So you really are starting there and then go, this is what I did, right? So rather than this is what you should do, you go, this is what I did. I thought about it and I was in a position where I didn't have much control in my life. COVID-19 is a great, it's recent enough for us to extract lessons from, especially if you have done some self-awareness and some self-assessing around like, how did I act during those initial 12 to 18 months when all of that stuff happened? What was my attitude like? What was my mentality like? Did I fight, flight, freeze? Did I this? Did I that? Did I try to improve on the things I can control? Or did I hide in the closet and like put 12 masks on my face, pretending to like, hoping I wouldn't get some invisible boogeyman? Whatever you did, it's like, it's an opportunity for us to learn and go, how did I really act? How did I receive the news? How did I receive talking to my friends and family? Like there's so much to learn from the last few years. And so in your content now, you can say, listen, I get it. It's like this, it's like that. I understand where you're coming from. And what I've done is I've asked myself, like, how much control did I really have over my life around the things that mattered to me? And I realized over the last few years that I didn't really have that much control. And it made me concerned. And so you're saying it to them, but you're talking about yourself. Is this helpful? You guys understanding where I'm going with this? So as they're reading it, they're seeing themselves in your story and they're like, oh man, me too. Or I haven't considered that, but yeah, that's a really good point. Or yeah, how much control do I have? Shit, I got no control. So they're having all these light bulb moments in you sharing your perspective that brought you to where you are now. Fair enough? And you could literally get endless amounts of content if you just brainstorm some stuff. And especially if it's like really true, authentic, like how you were feeling and some of the challenges that came up for you. Because everybody went through a lot, no matter who you are, emotionally, lots of ways. Just like what the heck is going on? It was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear in different ways. But it allows us to relate in such a powerful way. And then think of like a content strategy where you're constantly building this bridge from like, look, I get it. From the outside looking in, spending $5,000 on this type of product, it really does seem insane. Let's be real here. It does seem insane. What is required for someone to understand for that to all of a sudden feel like it's $5? Because the gap between the information, the knowledge, the benefits of what that $5,000 can actually provide for somebody is what makes the $5,000 feel like no brainer, like $5. Like, of course I would do it. Like, this is insane, right? Another type of content that you should consider too is around being resourceful. And this is another huge selling point and thing. Like, would you rather get ahead of it or have it be taken from you? So I'll give you an example. If you ask an average person who's a homeowner, do they want to sell their house, right? Most of them, if they're not actually wanting to sell their house, they're like, no, of course I don't want to sell my house. This is my home, right? I worked hard, I pay my mortgage and all the things, right? They're very attached to it. They're like holding it so tight, like, no, it's my home, right? Fast forward 18 months, the economy's going down, all these things are happening, and someone comes and takes their home away, right? Foreclosure, can't pay your mortgage, it's too expensive, you lose your job, can't pay it. And someone comes and like, thank you, it's my house, okay? This happens to a lot of people, by the way. This is a very real thing. Happened a lot in 2008 and around that time, and it's going to happen again in the next little while as well, next few years. So proactive, reactive. Proactive is my house. I ain't selling this shit. Versus we're taking your house because you didn't fucking do anything the last 18 months except for wait for us to come take your house. So there is an opportunity for us to educate people and let them know, look, right now it might seem counterintuitive to sell your shit, like your house, your cars, your toys, your luxury goods if you have them, your electronics, boats, canoes, motorcycles, all this stuff. It might seem insane for you to willingly put this stuff up for sale. But if you did, because you're someone who's saying, I can't afford to start with a trifecta or a quad or a whatever, and you're going, look, the smart thing for me to do is to get rid of some of these liabilities and toys and extras that I don't really need. I mean, I love them. Trust me, I love them. I enjoy them, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to take 1 step back, 2 steps back, so I could take 50 steps forward in the next 3, 4, 5 years. This is content that's so valuable because the average person isn't thinking to do this unless they're forced to. That's the point, is like if all of a sudden you lost your job and all these things were happening, and right when you're like about to lose your house or something like that, that last moment you would fire sell your car. You'd fire sell your motorcycle. You would sell it anyways, right? But at this point, you'd sell it like 50% what you could have got if you sold it 6 months earlier. Does this make sense for everybody? So we need to educate people and go, look, the ticket to your freedom lies in your control around a business opportunity that you can master, that you can work on, that you can serve and help people with. This is the ticket to your freedom for the pain and suffering to not be as bad as it is if you just wait for it to get ugly and you to be affected by it, okay? So think about this. I wanted to share this with you because obviously with the news that came out a little while ago, that there is an opportunity for us to help people, but we do need to really meet them where they're at, help them transition their mindset, take some of the most common fears, common objections, common limiting beliefs, and help them go, I know you think this way, but what if you consider thinking this way? I know that you see it like this, but what if you tried seeing it like this? And when they have that comparison side by side, they can literally go, huh, that is me over there on the left. Never thought about it like that over there on the right. And you're literally helping people transform just with your content. And then every once in a while, you connect that type of content back to the copy and the call to action on your sales content for your web class or whatever, where you almost remind them, hey, this week I taught you about price versus cost. I taught you about risk versus not risk. I taught you about being proactive versus reactive. You're basically summarizing it. This week I taught you about this. That's powerful, man. Like, you're being an authority. Like, I'm teaching you this stuff right here. And they're reading it and watching it going, yeah, I'm learning a lot. And then you go, so now the next step is, after I taught you blah, 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 the next step is for you to do something about it. And I'm giving you an opportunity now to come check out this web class that will actually allow you to change your life, to take matters into your own hands, to have more control, to do this and do this and do this, so that you can thrive over the next coming few years, rather than letting the economy absolutely smash you and you're just barely surviving, which isn't going to be a lot of fun. You guys getting value from this around how this needs to be the majority of the stuff that you're talking about from a value standpoint right now during this period of time? Because people want to keep selling the vitamins, right? And what I mean by vitamins is they're supplements. It's extra information, or not extra information. A vitamin is something that is a bonus, okay? So it's like you have your foundational nutrition and then you supplement your vitamins. It's extra. It's to top you off. But what people are experiencing right now is they are focusing more and more on their pain. Man, I'm in pain, or I'm trying to avoid the pain from getting worse. Like, I'm already feeling the squeeze from the economy right now. I'm already feeling the squeeze from inflation when I go get groceries. But I want to avoid this feeling of pain from getting worse. And every month, it feels like it's a little bit worse. So people's mindset is like, how do I avoid the pain from becoming more and more and more unbearable? And the content that you're talking about is a painkiller. And then you're offering them a painkiller solution, which is your web class. Does that make sense? So no more talk about the travel, the fun, the lifestyle, the na. You can still demonstrate and show that with your lifestyle if that's your truth and that's your reality, doing the contrarian schedule like I talked about earlier, going to the gym or the spa or the fun stuff during times when most people can't. That's still good stuff for you, but what you're actually proposing and selling to them is more painkiller focus rather than vitamin focus. Because right now they're like, I'm not even thinking about going on a family holiday, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you're nuts for even talking about that to me right now. That's like the majority of people's mindset. So we got to meet them where they're at, and you'll be amazed at the level of trust that you build. People will reach out to you privately and go, hey man, really appreciate that you're helping me see things in this new way. What is it that you do? And that will be like their entry point to ask more about that. All right. So hopefully that is landing for all of you. And yeah.